Well, I'm sure this isn't how you guys expected this interview to open off, but welcome back to another episode of Personality Pick, where we review your favorite MMA fighters, MMA Twitter personalities, and joining us today is the Monkey King himself, Jordan Leavitt, with the hat, with props. We had to put on the glasses for the props too. Jordan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Glad to be here. Good, sir.
Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hop on and have a little bit of a chat. I know a lot of the fans asked me a bunch of questions, which I do have listed on my screen here too, and they're really excited about this one. So let's dive right into this thing. First and foremost, congrats on your big win last time out against Victor Martinez. How did it feel getting your first finish via strikes in your career?
It was very empowering, as lame as that sounds. Like, when I spar, I never knock out anybody. So when it happened for real, like not up from a slam, something I was purposely trying to do, it was super empowering. It's super jarring. And just, I've never been so aggro in my entire life. I've always been very composed, very much in control. I forgot my whole victory dance. I forgot everything I had planned. I just screamed and yelled, and it felt amazing. Then I felt a little guilty afterwards, because you hurt somebody. I'm not used to doing that in that fashion, but pretty damn awesome. Definitely the happiest I've been after a fight in my life.
Dude, the knee up the middle, that was just the icing on the cake. I mean, I don't think anybody expected it, not gonna lie, but wow, that was violent. And I was there for it. I was there for it all. I was like, let's go. That was awesome. So I can only
Yeah,
imagine how you felt in the moment.
dude, like my entire camp, like my goal was to knock him out. And I was saying that I didn't think it was gonna happen though. I thought like I'd have to build up a few more fights to like get lucky enough or get good enough to get the knockout. My entire camp, my corner people like, oh, we're knocking him out. Like he's gonna stop the first takedown and then we're gonna knock him out. And I was like, I hope he doesn't stop the first takedown, but that's exactly what happened. I stopped the first takedown, I hurt him to the body of a kick, and then I knocked him out. Like it was perfect storybook ending.
Did you feel like you had any sense of urgency to get a win in like that kind of statement fashion? Or was it just something that materialized right then and there?
Oh no, there was a sense of urgency. Like I heard him with like a crescent kick to the liver, and I saw like his demeanor change. And when I've watched all the film on him, he's been dropped to the head. He recovers very well. So like I kind of like, okay, have to flurry on him now. But I knew if I would have like started to box him, he would have swung back hard, and I might have gotten caught. So I grabbed and got a hold of him, and then just muscled him around because I'm deceptively strong. A lot of my opponents like always mention how strong I am afterwards, and he felt all of it. So works out perfect.
That's awesome. This is a funny question. I had to pop this up here. Who would win in a dance off between you two? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to defer. I think Jordan takes this one.
I have a lot of experience in dance offs. You know, I've been to dozens and dozens and dozens of church dances. I went to prom 6 times. Like, I have so much dancing experience. Like I think the only person with more dancing experience is Vanessa Denopoulos in the UFC. That's because she did it for her job. Like, I dance a lot.
Yeah, I had to defer. I'm like, there's no way I'm winning that. Jordan, what was the first thing you did with that fight bonus money you got from the finish?
I paid off my car. So I made several irresponsible and perhaps stupid like financial decisions before the fight. I bought a house in mid December, and then beginning of February I bought a new car, like a brand new car, and so increased my debt substantially in about 90 days. So the first thing I did when I bought the car, I got the bonus. I like paid off my car, and that felt really cool. Like my first car payment, I'm like, oh, $37,000, and then it's over. That was really cool.
Here you go.
I wish I would have known I was getting the bonus. I would have just bought the car in cash. It would have been a really big pimping moment. But yeah, I paid off the car, and I'll probably get some solar panels put on my house. So all good decisions with the bonus money.
Exactly. Hindsight. It's like, okay, you know what? I would have justified it if I knew I was gonna get that knockout for sure.
Yeah.
Now, going back into a little bit of your background, Jordan, what got you into MMA in the first place? Was it the early to mid years of like jujitsu class or wrestling in high school? Take me through your MMA journey.
I had no sports background besides like lightsaber fights with my friends until my high school like years. So my freshman year, I joined wrestling because all my friends were joining it. But wrestling is a very intense, difficult sport. So if you're doing it for like out of peer pressure, you're not going to do well. So I quit. I quit wrestling, and the day I quit, I like ditched the wrestling tournament. I'm like, I'm done with that. And I turned on the TV, and it was the Ultimate Fighter season 10, the one that Roy Nelson won. And they were doing a thing where they play the entire season. Then after that was done, like it'd go to the finale. So I had the perfect opportunity to watch an entire season of this reality TV show about UFC fighting. And I watched all of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I want to do this. You know, then I saw big fat Roy Nelson knock out like Brandon Schwab. And I was like, whoa, like, I've always wanted to be a ninja. This is what I'm going to do. So the next year I rejoined wrestling, and I kind of made that like my goal since I was 15. And it's worked out surprisingly well. You know, it's been my life goal for 8 years. And then I got to the UFC when I was 23, and or 24, something like that. And I'm still here, and I'm doing it full time. And I bought myself a house, and it doesn't make sense. I guess follow your dreams, all that other cliche stuff people say.
Hey, don't forget the car. You got the car too?
Yeah, got the new car, sold my bucket, you know, like I'm moving up in the world.
That's awesome. How did your nickname, the Monkey King, come about? I feel like that's been the most requested question in my DMs. So we have to know. The people must know the origination of the nickname.
So it's a nickname I got twice throughout my life. So it started in middle school. went to the movies with my friends, and the movie Forbidden Kingdom with Jackie Chan and Jet Li was out. And the Monkey King came on, like, oh my gosh, that's you. And how the kids like do that immature thing, oh, that's you, you know, like the ugly guy or whatever. That's you. And so I was like the Monkey King in middle school. And then it kind of faded out because it's lame. You know, you get different friends, you grow up. So then my sophomore year, my first year back to wrestling, I like smoked this kid. And then like I crawl off of my knuckles, you know, and like beat my chest. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're like a monkey king. And I was like, oh, like light bulb moment. Like, that's my name. That's been my name when I was in 5th and 6th grade. Now it's be my name again. It's perfect. So then that was kind of my nickname for that. And then I've read Journey to the West, which is like a classic of Chinese literature, which is centered around the Monkey King, you know, a warrior without equal, who's playful and arrogant. And so now it's like a way for me to pay homage to like the birthplace of martial arts, which is the East. And I think it fits my personality very well, my fighting style, because I'm very playful. I don't take things too seriously. I don't think I'm arrogant, but I'm very confident, you know, and I think it's the perfect moniker for me. And, you know, it's easy to trademark.
It is easy to trademark. I'll give you that. Now, what are the chances it would change to Jordan Fedora Leavitt? I mean, that's a lot of people seem to like the fedora in the chat. It's something that's catching people's eyes.
I know what
I think it suits it.
I know what the people want. As long as you don't have a neck beard, fedoras are cool. You know, like I'm not like Milady. You know, I'm a light skinned guy. So light skins can do a lot of things that other people can't, like wear a fedora and not seem.
That's hilarious. Now, Jordan, the second most asked question in my DMs has been, what originated the twerk post-fight celebration?
So the first time, so like my first amateur fight, like I'd never been in a street fight or a fist fight before in my life. So I win the fight and I fall into a split and I'm like sticking my tongue out, like double peace signs, you know? And then like, you know, I got cake and like it's hard to get out of the split. So you kind of like bounce out of it. And then the announcers, the commentating table, they're like, oh, a little twerk right there, a little twerk. And I'm like, what isn't really a twerk? You know, I kind of had to shake my butt to get up. But then I was like doubling down on it because people were like, oh, this guy, you know, broke this kid's arm and then he like did the splits and then twerked on it. So then I kept making it more and more flamboyant. And then like for my UFC debut, it's like, I bet you wouldn't do the dirty dancing lift after a fight. And I was like, bet. So then I knock him out and I do the dirty dancing lift and it goes viral. Everyone's like, what the hell? Where'd you think of that? And I didn't think of it. Never even seen dirty dancing. Like I have never even seen it. And I just did it for like the giggles. I did it for the dares, which I think is quite manly. Everyone's like, that's very effeminate. I'm like, no, like I'm fearlessly taking on bets from my friends and doing it. And it's funny and the memes are wonderful. And, you know, it's what I do now. I do stupid stuff and people love it.
Yeah, I think the memes are one of the best things besides the win that came out of it. To be honest with you, the memes were amazing and they're hilarious. I'm sure you enjoy them. Or
I love the memes, man. Like I'm 27, you know, so like memes kind of like came into popularity during my teen years. So like I'm just at the age where like my parents have no idea how to like read memes. Like, who's this person? Not important. It's not what it's about. So like to see me at the face of some memes, you know, even when I lost to Patty, a bunch of memes are made about it. And I love that because, you know, laughter is life. Laughter makes everything more valuable, more happy, more perfect. And I love that I basically memed myself into being more popular than most people in my weight class. And it's completely undeserved, like completely undeserved on terms of merit. But I just love how my entire like popularity has been fueled by people who like it that I like who like seeing men get like twerked on and memers. I love my demographic of fans. I have the best niche in all of MMA.
perfect combination. That's so funny. Now, Jordan, I don't know how true it is. Someone brought this to my attention. There's an account on this service called Bet MMA Tips. And it's a tracking service for where people like put on their bets before the fights and like, okay, this is what I'm betting on. And it's under your name. And people want to know if that's actually yours.
Oh no, I don't gamble. I would never gamble, especially on myself. I remember someone saying like, Jordan's fighting Patty. He's not even betting on himself. There's no way he's going to win this fight. And if you've been in this sport, you know, for all my adult life, I see what goes on behind the scenes of all these fighters. You know, like I have seen fighters, without saying names, I saw them the week before. They're like, I haven't sparred in 2 years. And then 3 weeks later, they're fighting in a title fight.
Oh, wow.
And so I know all these things that happen behind the scenes. Fighters are stupid. You know, not only are we professional athletes, you know, like, which generally aren't the smartest people, like we get hit in the head for a living, you know, like there's the CTE. Like, they're going to go into fights under very stupid circumstances. And I'm not going to, you know, risk the money that I got from doing these stupid fights on somebody else also doing these stupid things. So yeah, I don't gamble. I don't, you know, and now it's illegal for me to, you know, so you gamble and now you're James Krause and now you're going to prison, you know. So good thing I don't gamble. But yeah, no, that's not my thing.
Well, I mean, to shed some light on it, the guy was pretty good. Whoever is behind that account, he's pretty decent at it. So a lot of people in the community, I think this is around the time you were fighting, I think it was Trey Ogden. I remember hearing a lot of people say, Jordan Leavitt's a really smart guy. I mean, you could check his Bet MMA Tips. I mean, he seems like he watches a lot of tape on these fighters and he knows what he's doing. And this is before the whole James Krause story. So it played into the narrative of a lot of people's breakdowns of your fights. I'm like, this is hilarious now that I'm knowing that it's not actually you. That was a big reason why people like thought you were going to win for some reason.
I know, like, he single-handedly moved the betting lines. I wasn't as big of an underdog. It's like, I think I win this fight 60% of the time. Homie, I win that fight 100% of the time. Like, I was gonna drop out of that fight. Like, funny thing about the Trey fight, like my opponent, Victor Martinez, the first time we were scheduled, I was scheduled to fight him. And then, like, they switched it to Trey, and, like, I had just, like, popped my ankle out. Like, I really hurt myself walking the dog. Long story. Like, I jumped, I popped it out. And I was going to cancel. I was going to drop out of the fight because I couldn't walk. And I couldn't train for 2 weeks. But then I looked at an interview, which I generally never look at interviews of my opponents. And Trey is just like, you know, Jordan's a little sloppy, and I'm just more experienced. I'm going to beat him anywhere. And I was like, I'll take this damn ankle. I got to beat him. Like, yeah, no. Like, I win that fight 100% of the time. I remember seeing the little betting thing, like, I think I win 60% of the time. I'm like, oh, the real Jordan wouldn't take a fight unless he thought he was winning, you know?
That's hilarious, dude. I know you mentioned in the past, on a more serious note, you really wanted to go up against Clay Guida in your next fight. Uh, that would be a really fun fight to make.
I know.
You think it would be possible for the next one? I mean, a lot of people thought Clay Guida was going to hang him up in that last fight on Saturday, but he just, he rickrolled us almost.
Dude, he faked it to give a shout out to someone for happy birthday. I love it. You know? Pissed off Data. I will never do that. But I mean, I would love to fight any of my heroes. You know, like Clay Guida's a Hall of Famer. He's in the fight ring. He's about, I think he's about to be certified, or he either is or is about to be a certified Hall of Famer in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
And he has wins over two of the best lightweights of all time. So of course I'd want to fight him. Like, I respect him as a fighter. I would never twerk on Clay Guida. So if he's watching this, like, if you're worried about that, all respect, all class from me. You're one of my heroes. And I haven't really, besides Patty and like Trey, but Trey, like, I've never really fought guys with that much more experience than me. And I feel like I want to fight someone with a lot more experience than me. And I think it will be a good learning experience. And Clay's trying to beat the takedown record.
Mm-hmm.
And I statistically have horrible takedown defense. So he should want this fight because I don't know how to sprawl. So, like, we both get something that we want. He gets some takedowns. I get to fight a legend, and I won't twerk on him. I promise. So,
I feel like it's a pretty fair deal.
Yeah. You get takedowns. You get takedowns and no embarrassment. I get to get my dream come true. It's perfect.
No twerking, though. Now, if that fight isn't possible, who would you like, or if there's a couple of names in your head, or the UFC's offered names to you over the past couple of weeks for this next one, if Clay Guida isn't a possibility?
If I didn't get Clay Guida, I think I would like to get like a Jared Gordon, because me and Jared Gordon we have a common opponent,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that'd be a cool test for me. I would like to fight Jared Gordon, or I guess the one person around my ranking that really makes sense. I guess Hoffa Garcia would also be very interesting, but honestly, I want fights that make sense for me and my circumstance. So I don't really want to fight anybody below me in the ranking, especially if they're not popular, because I don't gain much from it. And the best thing you could do at this point in your career is to get good fights that put a big spotlight on you. When I have to renegotiate a contract, it looks a lot better, as opposed to I'm 4-2 in the UFC, but 2 of my wins are over guys of like less than 4 fights. And it makes it hard for me to get more money. So I want to fight somebody more popular than me, or way more experienced than me. And Jared Gordon's been a very good measuring stick for a lot of people in the division. Like, only the best and Patty Pimblett have beat Jared Gordon. So,
I mean, Jared Gordon is fighting this weekend against Bobby Green. That could be something to look out for. I mean, hopefully that fight doesn't materialize, because I feel like it would be an absolute banger between the both of you.
I would love, and Jared Gordon's a good guy. I love to fight fighters who are good people that I respect, like, outside the ring, because he does so much good work for people with like drug addiction and everything. He's a amazing guy. So, like, I'd like that. It sounds weird, like I like to fight the good guys, but it feels better to know, like, for me, there's not really any personal animosity or dislike there, because whatever. This fight game's also super strange for some convoluted reason. I find it easier to fight people I like. So.
Absolutely. Now, just to get into a couple of questions here in the chat, what areas of MMA do you feel you've made most growth in since being signed to the UFC? This question's from Herb Dean, the gold standard.
What areas of MMA? I definitely think my my confidence and my patience on the feet has come like leaps and bounds. Before I got to the UFC, I didn't land a single punch on the feet until my 5th pro fight.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes all my amateurs. Like, it took me 9 fights to finally land a punch on the feet. And so I got to the UFC when I was 7-0. and I had to strike once. So it was very hard for me to like go out there and want to strike, because that's when the stakes are literally the highest. I'm finding the best people, and I have such limited experience in one area of my game. So for me, I've been focusing on like my striking, especially my hands, and like my timing for this entire time I've been under contract with Zuffa. And I definitely made the most like leaps and bounds in my confidence in the stand-up game, because when you don't have confidence and you have like knowledge and experience, like when I spar people, I can strike with anybody. So there's not like the bright lights, there's not the anxiety and all the adrenaline. So for me, it's like getting all the tedious, boring drills in that allow me to be comfortable and like confident and patient on the feet. And that's, sorry, I'm all rambly, but that's where I made the most improvements.
And I think part of that plays into this next question too. It's the anxiety and the bright lights and what that affect the performance. I feel like a lot of people underrate that to a certain degree. And going into this next question, it's Anthony's asking, I've been watching MMA my whole life. Is there any glaring factors of MMA that the fans miss because we don't actually train it? And I feel like that bright lights factor is huge.
There's a few big factors, like the bright lights. Like everyone you love and a lot of people that hate you are like watching you, and there's a lot of pressure and like weight on your shoulders about that. And training is very painful. Like I'm only 27, but I'm a very aged, decrepit, crippled 27. So like in the fight you feel nothing. You feel like Superman. Like there's no pain until like a few hours after. Like fighting isn't scary. If you ever were like, oh, it's like, does it hurt when you get hit? No, you don't feel anything when you get hit. Like that's the cool thing about doing this, is like you're Superman for 15 minutes or you're asleep, and that's fine. So the pain like behind the scenes, then also like just the craziness, like all the rampant drug use, all the weird political posturings, like all the drama between like managers and coaches and teammates. It's a very unprofessional professional sport, and it's still growing. It's in its infancy. So if you ever like look at like a documentary about NFL teams or NBA teams, know that our sport is nothing like that. There's so much chaos and things don't make too much sense yet. So
the part that interested me the most out of that is the beef between managers and coaches. And like a beef between fighters, we see that all the time, but between managers and coaches, I'm like, okay, I wonder if they get into like backstage scuffles. Like, all right,
yeah, all the time. So like, there are two bad case scenarios. If your manager and your coach are best friends, that's very bad for you, because that means they'll push their fighter into a fight, because that means I get paid as a coach, I get paid as a manager. Let's see if this kid, like when we're doing this kid a favor, he has a fight. So like you never want your manager and your coach to be best friends, because that puts you in the middle. And you're the one that's making all the sacrifices, taking all the chances. But then when your manager and your coach hate each other, it's also really bad, because they're always going to blame each other. And as opposed to focusing on the fighter who might be making like mistakes in their personal life, they're going to fight each other. And as a fighter, you may not ever get to develop, because your manager and coaches aren't telling you what you need to hear. They're saying, like, it's the other guy's fault. It's the other guy's fault. You want there to be like a nice mixture of like animosity and respect between your manager and your coaches. That way you get all the feedback you need and all the attention that you need as an athlete.
That makes sense. And you know what? That's probably a part of MMA that no one ever knew. So thank you for sharing that, because that's something that I never even thought of. A manager and a coach hitting each other and that causing conflict for a fighter. I feel like that just throws a wrench into the planning and training, and it just causes a lot more stress than there needs to be.
Yeah, 100%.
We have a question from Evan, who's asking, who would be your dream opponent in the UFC, past or present? Weight class isn't an issue. I know you mentioned Clay Guida. Is there a second name?
If weight class was not an issue, Damian Maia.
Okay.
Like Damian Maia, like one of my heroes, like coming up, and Lyoto Machida. Like those are two of my biggest. Like when I was like coming up in the sport, like I fanboyed super hard over those guys. Like any of the old like legends, like Matt Hughes have been an awesome one. Like yeah, like past, present, future. Those probably like my top three: Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, Lyoto Machida, and then yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. And our last question from MMA Locker Room. Who is your favorite fighter to train with at Syndicate?
Um, ooh, it's super hard because there's a big shift from Syndicate. Like a lot of people are like having moving out, but Sherrard Blackledge, um, he had a really big banger on the Contender Series. The season I got my contract, he fought Cameron Church. Check that one out. It's a amazing fight, but he's probably one of the most talented fighters I've ever like gone with. And we're like good friends. We've been friends for the better part of a decade now. So I'm partial to him, Natan Levy, Shane Shapiro. You know, the golden age of Syndicate with us 55ers is, I think, is in the past. But and then Brandon Jenkins, like I had a lot of amazing training partners at Syndicate. So
That's always good. And then last but not least, do you have a final message for your fans? Throw out there.
citizens of the Monkey Kingdom.
Oh,
We have won a great victory, but there are many, many victories in the future. We will attain them, and we will defeat any of those that stand in our way, because we are on the warpath. That is all.
amazing. Amazing. Jordan, I wanted to thank you for taking the time again and hopping on the show. It means a lot. And I'm sure the fans are going to love this. And people, live viewers, thank you for being so active in the chat. This has been really fun. I hope you had fun, Jordan.
I did.
Hopefully, I'll get to link up with you again at an event soon, or we'll do another interview in the future after your next fight.
All right. I like that very much, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. And guys, thank you so much for joining in. I appreciate the interaction. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. You know what to do. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Personality Pick. Peace.